Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this is going to be a video all about Doctor Strange, how he figures into the MCU timeline right now, Avengers Infinity War, the Time Gem, and why I think he and Spider-Man are going to be like the two biggest Marvel characters for like the next 10 years after Infinity War. So you've seen all the Marvel movies, you've been following the timeline, you've seen Doctor Strange, you know that Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum is in New York City, so a lot of you are wondering, where was Doctor Strange when all this stuff was happening? Where was he during the Battle of New York? Winter Soldier name-dropped him. Sitwell said that he was on Hydra's list of potential threats. So what's going on? Why haven't we seen him? Why haven't the other Avengers learned about him yet? So this is really funny. You guys will appreciate this. So everybody always notices the similarities between Doctor Strange and Iron Man in the comics. They kind of look like each other. Now, modern artists have kind of separated them, like, mustache bros for life. Look how similar they look. Just a few more white streaks in Doctor Strange's hair, like he shows the ravages of time. So it seems like what the movies are going to do in that same idea is that they're going to say that Doctor Strange, like the events of Doctor Strange's life, have been happening concurrently with the Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 timeline, so that when we head into Avengers Infinity War, he's already become the Sorcerer Supreme. He's already got the Eye of Agamotto. He is good to go. So think about Iron Man 1 and what happened when Iron Man crawled his way out of that cave, made the Iron Man Mark 1 suit. That's about the time Doctor Strange is going to be having his accident where his hands get crushed, he encounters the Ancient One, and has been training as Sorcerer Supreme this whole time while all this other Avengers timeline stuff has been happening. So during the Battle of New York, he's in training. During Avengers Age of Ultron, he's in training. That is a really easy way to explain why he was not around to help. If he was that powerful and somebody like Ultron came along, of course he would probably help out if he could, especially if he lives down the street from the Avengers Tower. So it's just a really easy way to explain what's been going on this whole time and why he hasn't been present. And if you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description, but I posted a Doctor Strange villains trailer video where it talks about Baron Mordo, Caecilius, Mads Mikkelsen's character, and his grand plan. So what he wants to do is basically collapse the multiverse and all of existence, like all the different dimensions, into one space. So when you think about dimensions, you think about 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension, like we live in the 3rd dimension. Then you have the 4th dimension, which is like all of space and time, wherein like 3rd dimensional beings like us would just experience everything that had ever existed, every possibility, all at the same time, which is why I think that we're going to see the Time Gem in Doctor Strange, because he's going to see all these different possibilities, all these different times, all these different dimensions, and it's going to be like this big eye-opening experience for the Marvel Universe. Like we've seen the galaxy, like we've had Guardians of the Galaxy, so we've seen aliens, other planets, big cosmic threats, but now Doctor Strange is going to be like the guy to walk into the Avengers and tell Tony Stark, look, you're a man of science, I understand that. Magic is just science that you haven't explained yet. Look at all these different possibilities, all these different dimensions. He's gonna like blow Tony Stark's mind. I can't wait to see Doctor Strange try to explain multiple dimensions, Dormammu, to Tony Stark, who I think is gonna be the big bad after Thanos. You have a guy like Heimdall who can pinpoint almost anybody in the 3rd dimension. Like he has the ability to see almost everything that exists in their dimension. Like he could spot anybody no matter where they are, unless they have abilities like Loki that can mask detection, but you get the idea. Heimdall can see almost everything in our universe. Doctor Strange collapses that idea into like seeing all across the multiverse at the same time. So you have all these other threats, all the terrors that exist between dimensions. Like if you know about the Cancerverse in Marvel, it's basically like a darkest timeline universe where everything is just way, way worse than it is in our universe. And it tries to encroach on our universe. That's where we get into Doctor Strange Time Gem stuff, which is why I think that that's going to be a bigger deal in Phase 4, because it's a really big concept. Like we're just dealing with stuff in our universe. So I'll be really interested to see like how Doctor Strange collapses all that and then explains it to the other Avengers. And then they'll have like that Iron Man 3 post-credit scene where Doctor Strange is the counselor and Tony Stark is on the couch just being like, how do we deal with this, man? I don't know, maybe there's some unresolved issues from my childhood. That was actually one of my more favorite Marvel post-credit scenes. It was a very Science Bros post-credit scene where Banner wakes up and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm not that kind of doctor. I could totally see them doing a version of that with Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm also not that kind of doctor. But you can see how the Time Gem is just a really easy way to explain all of these different realities existing simultaneously and why Doctor Strange has not been around this whole time. He has been in training, so he has been away. So he doesn't really come back to the Sanctum Sanctorum till after Avengers Age of Ultron as we head into Infinity War. But here's an even bigger idea. So going into Phase 4, like we're still closing down Phase 3. The end of that is going to be Infinity War, the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. So going forward into Phase 4, a lot of actors are nearing the end of their contract. So what I think that they're trying to do is turn Doctor Strange into like the new Iron Man type character, like the character that it's all built around, and kind of at the other end of the spectrum, around the Spider-Man character. Because Spider-Man is like the in for everybody who's seeing this for the first time, like the casual audience goer who's like, I don't know who Dormammu is. What's an Infinity Gem? Like, think about how many people have absolutely no idea what's going on. It kind of makes your brain hurt a little bit. But I can see going into Phase 4, like they have all these new characters that they're introducing, how Spider-Man still becomes like the biggest character ever. One, mostly because he's always been the biggest character behind Batman. They're like, in the pantheon of popular comic book characters, Spider-Man worldwide is like the most popular character ever next to Batman. So no matter what happens in the movies, I always see the Spider-Man movies as making more money than the other big movies. You know, maybe not Avengers, but still, Spider-Man gonna be huge. So it makes sense that they would frame a lot of this MCU context going forward, like, oh my god, look at all this crazy stuff that's happening around his perspective, as well as conversely Doctor Strange, because he's the guy that explains everything and sees all these different possibilities. Spider-Man's like the new everyman character, like I'm just trying to do what's right, trying to figure all this crazy stuff out, and Doctor Strange is more of like the morally gray character who's in the know, like he knows about such terrible things that are happening, so he has to make very morally gray calls. But that kind of gets into Illuminati territory. I'll be really interested to see if they ever try to do Illuminati in the Marvel movies. But let me know in the comments, who do you feel like is going to be Marvel's biggest character going into Phase 4? Not in the context of the story, but just in general. I feel like Spider-Man is going to be that guy. Like, he's going to be the easy in for everyone who doesn't understand comics, doesn't read comics, and he's one of the most fun characters. And that's kind of like the whole core operating principle of the Marvel movies, is that they are fun, even though they twist you up in very terrible ways. So Spider-Man going to be a huge deal going forward. So you can see why he is such a high priority for Marvel right now, that they nail it right now. Just such an important thing going forward for like the next 10 years. But get hype, it's a little early to be talking about Phase 4 stuff just because we haven't even gotten Infinity War yet. But what's going to happen later this weekend, there'll probably be some more Spider-Man, there'll be some more DC stuff. There were like a bunch of rumors that came out. There's a rumor that DC is working on an HBO show. I don't know whether to believe it or not, so I'll do a little investigating. Maybe I'll do a video about it. So be sure to subscribe to get that stuff. There's a new round of the Marvel giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. It's a $30 Amazon card just for the value of the Captain America Civil War Blu-ray. So probably going to do a new Flash movie video later tonight because the rumor is that the Rogues are going to be the big villain of that. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here to watch Vin Diesel and James Gunn fangirl all over Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and explain a little bit of the plot. And you can click here for that funny Thor Ragnarok trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.